Chapter 109, Massacre in the Streets. The darkness of the night settled down like water, as the time drew near to midnight. The wind whistled through, causing the dust and sand to swirl up, being scattered in the air much like mist or fog. This silent street was only lit by the cold moonbeams. Not far ahead, the smoky theatre tower was still ablaze with lit lanterns, as the indistinct sound of musical instruments traveled from there. This made the street even more cheerless. Following the sound of drunken hiccups, as well as slurred speech, a procession of people walked closer in twos and threes. The troops of 100-odd people walked slowly in an undisciplined fashion, causing the entire squad to be delayed. After indulging in good food and wine, Nan Gongla and the Yang family's brothers brought their guards with them, as they sat unsteadily on horseback discussing some unknown topic on their way back. Every now and then, an obscene laughter would sound out from one of them. They came closer, even closer. Finally, the silhouette of a horse's front could be seen clopping into the quiet and long street. A silhouette flashed past like a specter. It shot down from the rooftops of the buildings beside the road, without any warning whatsoever. A hand wielding a long sword shone with a chilly light as it drifted without sound nor warning, stabbing towards Nan Gongla, who was in front of the Yang family's brothers. The busily engrossed Nan Gongla, who was still in the midst of discussion with Yang Wei, suddenly stiffened as he felt killing intent and hurriedly lay down flat on his horse's back. The two bodyguards behind him sprang forth, swords at the ready. A third guard even threw himself on Nan Gongla, willing to sacrifice himself in order to block a sword for Nan Gongla. The ghostly figure seemed to warp and twist in the air, the sword flashing like electricity. It pierced through the rib of the bodyguard in front of Nan Gongla, conveniently stabbing viciously into the chest of the panicked Nan Gongla. Blood splattered in all directions as Nan Gongla let out a shrill of fear. A thin stream of blood fountained out of his chest, jetting out at least 3 feet in length. His body slipped from the top of his horse weakly, his status unknown. That assailant calmly retracted the sword, and with 2 dang-dang sounds, deflected the offending swords that the 2 bodyguards jabbed in its direction. The sword flashed past the guards' necks, and they only felt a coldness around that area before both of them fell to the ground like broken sacks, warm blood spurting out from their necks. The masked man in black seemed to smile coldly as he kicked out with a leg, taking the chance in which the guard protecting Nan Gongla had not retrieved his sword to kick him in the crotch. The guard flailed as he flew through the air, a suppressed whine coming out from his mouth, blood flowing out from all 5 holes on his face. Before he even landed, he had already stopped breathing. With another kick from the black-robed man, all his organs and meridians were destroyed. The horse received a shock, tossing its head upwards and neighing. What conspired at Nan Gong's area had already badly frightened the 3 Yang brothers. With a sweep of his sword, the black-robed man then knocked aside all the weapons coming towards him. Lifting his right leg, pop 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 sounds were heard as the Yang brothers were kicked off their steeds, flying a distance before hitting the ground. The 3 of them hit the ground hard, screaming in pain. The Yang family's bodyguards collectively heaved a sigh of relief. From the pained cries, one could hear that their 3 young masters' lives were not in trouble, seeing how resonant their screams were. However, the same could not be said for Nan Gongla, who had ceased to make any sounds after being stabbed once. The 100-odd guards soared as they charged towards the black-robed man, as though they were possessed. The latter did not avoid or escape, his body lightly flitting through the crowd of guards. With a resplendent flash of his sword, 4 heads separated from the body, shooting upwards into the sky and leaving 4 blood pillars spewing on the ground. Before the heads landed, another 6 took a sword in their throats, their bodies splayed in all directions as they fell like mowed grass. Arrows of blood could be seen flying everywhere. The black-robed man moved unceasingly around, like a tiger placed among a flock of sheep. From the start until now, the black-robed man had not uttered a single word. But, He had already reaped the lives of 10 over man, like how one would chop their vegetables and fruits. The various guards all felt a chill across their bodies. The black-robed man was just like a devil. He did not have any hesitation whatsoever in killing people. Once his blade appears, at least one life would be snuffed out. This was like the meaning of one strike, one kill. There was no middle ground. In a blink of an eye, corpses littered the grounds surrounding the black-robed man, as a sense of dread rose in the rest of the guards. This was the first time they felt death so near to them. The Nangong family had a few guards that risked their life to rush into the kill zone. In an instant, 3 of them fell to the black-robed man's sword, but one of them managed to grab the unconscious Nangongla to one side. Checking his vital signs, an incredibly weak breath could be found coming from him, as though he could die at any point. The guard could not help but feel panicked, even though he was overjoyed at this unexpected news. He shouted out, "The young master is not dead yet. Hurry and block his way, I'll save the young master first." The other 70 to 80 of them split into half, one portion guarding and escorting the 3 Yang brothers as well as Nangongla, and the rest mobbed the black-robed man as though they did not want to live any longer. This was the sorrow of being part of an aristocratic family. The master's life was precious beyond anything, while the guards and servants were sacrificial tools. The eyes of the black-robed man let out a trace of ridicule. With a light sound coming from his mouth, his body flitted, much like a butterfly amongst the men, and his sword suddenly shot out thousands of brilliantly cold beams. With another flip, the 10 men closest to him started bleeding while retreating. All of them had a similar tiny wound on the neck and ran out of time, returning to the darkness before they could even manage a wail. The remaining bodyguards knew that they had no road of survival to speak of. A certain hulking figure, upon realizing that he would not walk out alive, raised his blade and charged fiercely towards the black-robed man. He mustered the rest of his strength, grabbing the black-robed man in a bear hug the moment his throat was pierced. If he succeeds, the surrounding guards would be able to hack the black-robed man to pieces. The eyes of the black-robed man remained impassive and cold throughout. With a shua-shua sound, both of the arms of the big guy were cut off. At the same time, a foot landed squarely on his stomach, causing the heavy weight to be lifted off the ground. The big guy then collided with all the people behind him. At that moment, the guards behind were not able to retract their swords in time, causing 3 or 4 of them to be buried deep into him. The big guy then smashed onto those behind, squishing them like pancakes. Before they could even get back on their feet, a coldness shot through their neck and they could no longer feel anything. The sword in the black-robed man's hands became faster and faster. Facing a tidal wave-like siege from all directions, he appeared like a boulder that withstood the weathering of 1,000 years, standing stably without moving. Ray after ray of sword light flashed past, leaving only warm corpses in its wake. The cold and dark street was turned into hell in this short period of time. As for the black-robed man, he was the Death Reaper who presided over this hell. After one round of killing, there were not many guards left. On the other hand, the group tasked with escorting Nangongla as well as the 3 Yang brothers had not even left the streets yet. From this, one could see how ruthless the black-robed man was, to kill with such speed. The faces of all present turned pale in panic and no one dared to look back to witness the hellish scene. All present only felt their scalps turn numb and their legs soften. With a whistle, the black-robed man's sword made another round around his body and 8 more people dropped under his blade. Ownerless limbs flew all around and destroyed body parts were strewn all over the ground. The final 10-odd guards all knew what was going to happen next and revealed expressions of despair in their eyes. All of them rushed forward in a flurry, hoping to use the method of sacrificing oneself to bring the black-robed man down. However, the black-robed man only jumped up, his sword letting out a sprinkle of silvery light around him, before borrowing the force to leap up towards the sky. Airborne, he somersaulted and propelled himself in the sky towards the escaping group like a meteor. Behind him, the 11 bodyguards stood stock still as their throats let out weird gurgling sounds. Slowly, the swords in their hands clattered on the ground as they all fell backwards, simultaneously shooting out blood arrows from their slit throats. From the start until now, the 67 guards who had surrounded Black Robes had fallen in battle, fresh blood painting the scene, without a single one left alive. Such speed, such killing intent. The killing intent shot up into the night, tyrannical beyond words. The figure of the black-robed man bobbed up and down, as he used the fastest speed possible to catch up to the escaping group. At this point, the last one in the line of guards suddenly halted in his steps, bellowing out as he raised his blade and slashed down in an overhead chop. The wind was cut by the blade, a signal of the strength behind it. The black-robed man, whose soaring speed was gradually decreasing due to the lack of external force to support, suddenly dived down and crossed his sword with the guard's blade, much like a comet crashing down to earth. Using this newfound support, the black-robed man leaped over the man, stepping on his head and using it as a kickboard. With a paw sound, the guard's head suddenly burst apart, akin to a 8 kilograms hammer being smashed on a watermelon. Blood and brain matter littered the area. Chapter 110, Shifting the Blame. Without looking, the black-robed man landed suddenly. The spot he landed on was behind the 3 brothers of the Yang family and in front of the guard guarding Nangongla. He looked at the people in front of him coldly, without a trace of emotion seeping out, as though he was looking at livestock ready to be slaughtered. A guard then shouted in desperation, "Young Master Yang, please save my young master. The Nangong family will remember your kindness forever." After seeing how the black-robed man was like a killing god and how he was able to fly through the air, Yang Wei had already been frightened to the point he wet his pants. How would he still have the heart to bother about Nangongla? Without his own life, what good would eternal gratitude do? Without turning behind, he let go of both his younger brothers and escaped like a rabbit who saw a predator. The few guards of the Yang family then pretended that they did not hear the pleas of the Nangong family guards, escorting their 3 young masters to escape. What a joke, that black-robed man is obviously here to kill Nangongla and we already had many of our men die for nothing. Now that we are able to keep our lives, why would we go and seek our death? Even the guards who died previously were all pulled down by your Nangong family. More than 100 men were still unable to defeat him. Wouldn't it be useless for us to stay behind? Who knows what kind of enmity you have with this death god? You actually attracted your enemy all the way here. The remaining guards of the Nangong family then surrounded the unconscious Nangongla, staring at the black-dressed man like a bunch of sheep waiting to be slaughtered. The black-robed man then stared at those from the Yang family with a playful smile. Then, he turned around and pointed his sword to the ground. Fresh blood began to drip down from the tip of the sword with raindrop-like sounds. However, it felt like the drumbeat of the death god beating in each of their heads. Wonderful! Today is such a great day. Ha ha ha! That black-robed man let out a carefree laughter. Raising his sword, he looked at the bloodstains on the sword and said regretfully, "I heard that a real weapon would not see blood after killing someone. It seems that this sword is far from being comparable to godly weapons. What do you guys think?" A guard was pressured by the aura he was emanating and could not help but reply blankly, "What we think." The black-robed man then sighed, "If I used this sword to decapitate all of you and the sword is still able to remain shiny, wouldn't that be a beautiful thing?" It was as though he was mumbling but yet seemed like he was questioning the people in front of him. His words were filled with regret, as though he was regretful that he did not have such a godly weapon. "Why? Why do you want to kill us? Who are you?" A guard mustered his courage and asked. "This question of yours is really stupid. But since you guys are not going to survive, it wouldn't matter if I let you know. Haha, a dead man will not be able to leak the secret. I shall let you guys die in peace. The black-robed man was extremely patient. The people in front of him were no different from ants to him, easily destroyed with a wave of his hands. The words he said was akin to a predator toying with his prey. In the hearts of the guards, they could feel the endless killing intent from the black-robed man and could not help but feel despair. But in such a circumstance where they felt that their deaths was certain, they all became more bold instead. A guard then puffed up his chest and said, "Sir, you are stronger than us and we do not feel wrong to die in your hands. I just hope that you will let us die a knowing death. Why do you want to kill us? After you explain that, us brothers can die peacefully. Of course, if you are not willing or don't dare to say it, that's also up to you." The black-robed man then burst out into laughter. "I'm not willing to say? I don't dare to say? Haha, what a joke. Do you guys think you will be able to survive? Even if I were to say the truth, would you guys be able to spread it? Since you are not afraid of us spreading it, why must you reject the final wish of a dying man?" Ha ha ha. The black-robed man laughed for a long while. "I did not intend to say it initially, but I just cannot hold back the temptation. I can't believe that there is actually such a stupid family like the Nangong family in the world. You guys really make me feel extremely surprised. A bunch of idiots, how did you guys become one of the 8 great families? It is really puzzling to me how the Nangong family is not destroyed yet." The black-robed man ridiculed. The guards all felt their anger boiling. "Sir, it doesn't matter if you don't want to say it. Why must you humiliate us? Does sir feel a sense of accomplishment to humiliate an opponent far beneath your level?" The black-robed man smiled. "Don't need to agitate me, I had already planned to say it. Don't agitate me to the point I don't feel like saying it. The biggest mistake of your Nangong family was to make a marriage proposal to my Yang family. Hee, that Nangong Tianlong is too naive." "You are from the Yang family?" the guards exclaimed as they came to a realization about some matters which seemed strange. No wonder he did not kill the young masters from the Yang family. No wonder he allowed the 3 young masters to escape. No wonder why the Yang family would not save their young master La. So he was from the Yang family. This matter was just a scheme of the Yang family. But why would the Yang family want to do that? Confused? Haha, your family head, Nangong Tianlong, would definitely know the reason. You guys eyed on the Ling family and wanted to eat them up in secret. However, you also thought about having an alliance with my Yang family so the aftermath of the affair would be settled more easily. Haha, a good plan. Hee, how can things go your way all the time? Our Yang family also has the same idea. If that's the case, how can we allow you to marry our young miss? You still want to let us to clean up after you? What do you think your Nangong family is? A bunch of fools who want to play others as monkeys? What a joke. The guards then stared at each other as fury filled their hearts. Yang family. What a Yang family. So sinister. The black-robed man then looked at them leisurely. Now that everything is explained, you guys can just end your own lives. I only need Nangongla's head. Anger was already plastered all over their faces. While we are not your opponents, we are not willing to wait helplessly for death. We are even more unwilling to end our own lives. It's best we trouble you. Please. The black-robed man laughed. Good. If that's the case, have a good trip on the Yellow Springs Road. Go and accompany your foolish young master. The guards then lifted up their weapons and charged over with a battle cry. Like a gust of wind, the sword of the black-dressed man penetrated the chest of the first man. After pulling it out and taking another step, his sword brandished again and another guard's chest was penetrated. The black-dressed man then flicked his wrists and the sword exited from the chest of the last guard. With a tinge of melancholy, he mumbled, I will never leave any survivors. The orders from the top cannot be disobeyed and may all of you have a good trip. The body of the last guard stumbled on the ground without motion. With a single slash and jab, Nangongla's head was already embedded in the sword of the black-dressed man. With a laugh, his body floated in the air and he disappeared into the night skies. The black-dressed man seemed to be extremely careless, not bothering to check if there were any survivors. Or perhaps, he was just overly confident in himself. A long while later, two soft groans sounded together. In the pool of blood, two guards who were filled with blood all over them gradually opened their eyes. While the sword of the black-dressed man pierced through their chest, it did not penetrate their hearts. The both of them also managed to survive. A commotion could be heard from afar as a bunch of troops held onto fire torches and approached the place quickly. They were the reinforcements of the Yang family. The guards, who had regained their consciousness, were filled with hatred as they thought, "What a coincidence, just when everyone had died, you guys arrive. Do you guys really take us for fools?" In hatred, their previously clear mind became muddled. Chapter 111, Mission Accomplished. Ling Tian sat cross-legged on the bed, entering into meditation as he cultivated. The divine shocking dragon formula had a total of 12 layers. From the 6th layer on, stepping into the next level was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Ling Tian understood the principle of more haste, less speed. If he wanted to forcefully advance, not only would his cultivation not take a step forward, it would create a large burden, or even damage, for his body. Only by maintaining a calm and carefree attitude would his cultivation improve. No matter how small the improvement was, it was still an improvement. After Yu Bingyan came, she had destroyed Ling Tian's optimal mental state. The earlier Yu Bingyan's divine black negative meridians was treated, the higher the probability of success. While Ling Tian was able to wait, Yu Bingyan could not. Even if he is able to refine the great cyclic pill, it was only a method to stall for time. Tonight, Yu Bingyan did not return to the Wei family but stayed in the Ling family instead, moving in with her guards. This made the originally spacious courtyard become a little squeezy. At the same time, Ling Tian's actions also became more restricted. Because the Wei family was worried about Yu Bingyan, they sent Wei Zhuan to invite her back. However, with the reason of Ling Tian being injured, Yu Bingyan insisted on staying there. Helpless, Wei Zhuan could only agree to pick Yu Bingyan up at noon the next day. The sky was already dark. A soft snapping sound could be heard on the roof. Ling Tian was awoken from his meditative state, opening his eyes slowly. His eyes fixed onto the person on the roof as his divine sense spread out. If this person had any malicious intentions, Ling Tian would kill the person with all he had. "Young noble, it is me." Feeling Ling Tian's sharp killing intent, the person on the roof quickly spoke. He was Ling Jian. From the open window, Ling Jian drifted in. "Young noble, what's the matter? Why do I feel two unfamiliar experts in the house apart from young noble? Furthermore, they are both extremely alert. What is going on?" Afraid that I will reveal myself, I jumped straight onto young noble's roof from the outside. Ling Tian praised, "Ling Jian, you are indeed more mature in recent times. You are now able to make flexible decisions when you realize that something is wrong. Haha, if it were a few years back, you would have probably walked in foolishly from the front door, right?" Ling Jian rubbed his head embarrassedly. His chilly face was like an immature child in front of Ling Tian. "Young noble praised me too much. The situation today was just too odd. This is the first time our house is on such high alert. If not for this subordinate knowing young noble's ability, I would have definitely thought that something happened within the family. The little princess of the Yu family is in our house," Ling Tian said calmly. "Oh, no wonder." Ling Jian's eyes was suddenly burning with passion. "Are those two experts the guards of the little princess?" "Young noble, Ling Tian interrupted him, "No way. You cannot touch them now. They are both not your opponents. Once drawn, your swordplay cannot be retracted, resolute with killing intent. It is the sharpest and most powerful swordplay in the world today. While they are not your opponents, you will have to fight them with all of your might if they join hands to fight you. In the exchange between experts, life and death happens in an instant and the both of them will definitely die under your hands. However, the little princess of the Yu family is an extremely important affair and nothing must happen. The moment something goes wrong, we will be on the defensive end. Ling Tian went silent for a moment before saying, "I will wait. There will definitely be such a day." Ling Tian giggled, "Ling Tian, when this day really comes, you will realize that you are no longer interested in the both of them." Ling Tian's eyes lit up, "Young noble, are we going to have special training again?" Ling Tian laughed, "That's not the case. It is just that I thought of another situation from your killing intent just now. Ling Tian, do you know that you no longer require any special training anymore? Special training can only improve the endurance, reflexes and agility of a person. It is already useless to you. The thing which you have to increase now is your cultivation." Ling Tian seemed a little disappointed as he heard that, frustrated over the fact that special training will no longer be of use to him. Ling Tian knew just how cruel Ling Tian's special training was. It is able to make an expert like himself live under the pressure of death every moment, afraid to even relax for a moment. While such a feeling was torture to an ordinary person, it was a rare experience for someone like Ling Tian who lived on the borders of life and death every day. "Young noble, you said that you thought of another situation from my killing intent? What kind of situation did you think about?" Ling Tian asked. Ling Tian's eyes flashed, "The situation when you fight the both of them." Ling Tian was stunned for a moment. "Didn't young noble say that I will be able to win the both of them, even if they joined hands?" "While you are able to win the both of them, do you know what kind of a price you will pay?" Ling Tian asked. "To serve the young noble, death is nothing. Ling Tian's life already belongs to the young noble." Ling Tian replied without thinking. Ling Tian shook his head, "You are wrong. The both of them are top-notch experts. With your ability, you will be able to win the both of them. However, you will have to pay a huge price which may be..." As Ling Tian said that, he was stunned for a moment. You have to know, Ling Tian was betrayed by his own family in his past life and humiliated by his blood brothers. He no longer had the feeling of brotherhood in his heart any longer. While Ling Tian was loyal to him, it was due to the favor which he owed Ling Tian and the effects of brainwashing. However, he had actually mentioned those words of concern without thinking. Did he really treat Ling Tian as a true brother and not a chess piece which could be sacrificed at any time? The both of them did not speak for a long time. "Is the matter settled?" Ling Tian was the first to regain his calmness and asked. While this was a question, it seemed more like a confirmation. Ling Tian would never doubt Ling Tian's ability and Ling Tian had never disappointed Ling Tian. Furthermore, sending Ling Tian to deal with Nan Gongla was akin to using a cannon to kill a chicken. It would be even more surprising if Ling Tian did not succeed. Ling Tian chuckled before replying, "Nan Gongla's head had been thrown into the river by me. Young noble, I am not sure about something and I hope you can enlighten me." Ling Tian opened his eyes and looked at Ling Tian, signaling for Ling Tian to continue. The strength of the Nangong family seemed a little too weak. None of the Nangong family's guards were able to even block my sword. "Don't young noble think that there is something wrong?" Ling Tian asked with doubt plastered all over his face. The Nangong family is not the Yu family or Water of Heavenly Wind after all. It is understandable for them to be slightly weaker. Not every family is able to have a large number of experts. However, the Nangong family definitely has experts, this fact is undeniable. As for why the guards of Nangongla is so weak, this goes to show that a silk pants like him is not important in the family. Ling Tian said in a deep tone. "Oh," Ling Tian nodded his head, "Young noble, since the matter is settled, I will return to the Ling family courtyard." Ling Tian smiled and said with a gentle tone, "There's no rush, Jian, apart from when we were young and a few other night conversations, we rarely have any chance to interact. Especially after you exterminated the Blood Rose Hall and moved to the Ling family courtyard, you have been on the move for long periods of time, without a shelter over your head as you toiled away for long hours. It has been tough on you. Tonight, let us brothers have a gathering. You can also tell me about all the things which have happened in the past few years. Ling Jian's eyes reddened as he felt the deep sense of concern from Ling Tian. Young noble is more knowledgeable than anyone in the world, with wisdom far exceeding his peers. Furthermore, Ling Jian owes the young noble a great favor, and even death would repay only a mere fragment of it. How would I dare to be brothers with the young noble? I am alright, no matter what I have to do for the young noble, I am willing to do so. I will always be young noble's sword. Chapter 112, Toasting a Cup to the Noble. Ling Tian let out a warm smile. Jian, since the worldwide dispute has already begun, the undercurrents will gradually start to appear, until they have covered every single country, causing chaos to the entire continent. In the future, the enemies we will be facing will only get stronger. As my most capable assistant, and also the person I trust the most, if you don't treat me as a brother, then who should I place my trust in? Since I have chosen you to take charge, it means that you are an extension of me. As such, in the future, our meetings will be few and between. It will be like this time, where you've been out for at least 4 months. I'll get that last Jenner to prepare some dishes. Tonight, we'll have a good drink together. Young noble. Ling Jian felt warmth from deep within his heart. He felt his nose becoming stuffy, and could only resort to turning his head away, coughing a few times before he managed to suppress the hot tears that were about to spill. Calling Ling Chen over, Ling Tian gave a few instructions. A short while later, she carried a large tray in, with 6 different types of dishes on it, all elaborately made. After which, she brought in 2 vats of wine. After glancing at Ling Tian, she retreated out quietly. Ling Tian lifted up his cup, which was full to the brim. Jian, let me offer you a toast. Young noble, there's something that I still do not understand. While refilling Ling Tian's cup, Ling Jian spoke. After a few cups, a slight flush was beginning to appear on Ling Jian's pale face. Haha, Jian, your face is all red. Not bad, you look quite good with it, ha 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 ha. After that sentence, Ling Tian laughed a bit before continuing, what is it you do not understand? And you even hid it from me for a few years without task? Ling Jian laughed at his reply. Young noble, what did you see in me when you accepted me back then? I've always found this matter weird. I had already escaped to outside the city, but you still continued searching for me. Ling Tian's eyes drooped as in his vision flashed once again to that helpless little child who faced him at that time, not knowing where to run, with eyes filled with hatred, despair as well as stubbornness. Comparing to the man in front of him, he could not help but let out a long sigh. That time, when you were escaping, you bumped into me inside the capital, haha. Staring blankly into space, Ling Tian recounted dreamily. At that time, you were frantic. In your eyes, I could see despair, helplessness, distress, and many more negative emotions. Although you only glanced at me, I could see the endless hatred in your eyes. At that point, I remembered you deeply and thus wanted to help you. That's all to it. Ling Tian's voice was light, yet the tone was heavy. It was like a mountain pressing down. As Ling Tian spoke, Ling Tian's focused state made him feel that the child Ling Tian was recounting was not just about him, Ling Jian, but also about Ling Tian himself. This was a sort of hatred that had already been carved deep into one's bones. It was a type of hatred that cannot be forgotten, even in death. How can this be possible? Why would the young noble have such an experience? Ling Jian thought. However, while one could fake his tone, it was impossible to fake his innermost feelings. Ling Tian was sitting opposite Ling Jian. But at that instant, Ling Tian felt like the young noble was standing alone on a snow-capped summit, filled with snow and ice that never melted. Loneliness, desolateness, solitude, as well as a huge sense of powerlessness emanated from him. This sort of cold and bleak feeling of powerlessness had even overtaken what he felt in those early years. Why? Why would young noble feel this way? The young noble has it tough. Unbidden to him, a thought suddenly surfaced in Ling Tian's mind. With his intelligence, talent, martial arts and knowledge all far surpassing a normal person, where did this bitterness come from? From the country? Family? Self? Ling Tian could not understand, and may never will. Ling Tian's face, which typically resembled a block of wood, suddenly revealed some emotions, his eyes dimly sparkling with unshed tears. He silently lifted up his cup in a toast, downing it in one go. Under the influence of his emotions, he applied too much force, and the wine cup shattered in his hands with a crisp sound. In the shadows outside the house, Ling Tian had long changed into camouflaged night clothes, her svelte body melding with the darkness, with the spring breeze caressing her. Men also needed to clear their frustrations at times. A good friend, as well as a vat of good wine, that was one of the best way to let loose some steam. Ling Tian was well aware that men, under such situations, were the easiest to get drunk, because they did not have any guards up. As such, she did not choose to stay inside the room, but opted to guard outside, in the inky darkness, and chilly spring winds. Tonight, Ling Tian silently sacrificed her sleep to provide protection for the two men who were akin to brothers. Let them drink to their heart's content. Ling Tian and Ling Tian never knew that the outstanding Ling Tian, almost omnipotent like a god, actually had such an unsavory past. The main reason as to why he helped them was primarily because he saw vestiges of the helpless him in them. Even if he stayed in the downtown, he would still be ostracized by everyone. His heart would be akin to a 1,000-year glacier that resisted melting, standing alone and tall, without any warmth to speak of. By saving Ling Tian, as well as accepting Ling Tian, it was a subconscious way for him to save his own past self, when he was in the depths of despair. He subconsciously treated them as his past self, helping them as a form of redemption to himself. However, with Ling Tian's tender warmth as well as Ling Tian's tenacious devotion and the care that they both showed him, this allowed Ling Tian's frozen and locked heart to slowly begin to melt, revealing a tiny crack. The Ying family. Nan Gongyu stared mutely at the headless corpse of her brother, her body trembling, then collapsing onto the ground like cotton. "Little Miss! Lady Nan Gong!" the crowd exclaimed in shock. Yang Kong stood by the side with an ashen face. His usually unflustered face was filled with ruthlessness this time. There was actually someone who killed the young master of the Nan Gong family, here to propose a marriage, under the watch of the Yang family. This was no doubt a clear and sound smack to Yang Kong's face, and it was an utter humiliation. How would the Nan Gong family think of this? Would they still work together? Their son was actually killed in a place where my influence was the largest. How can they still talk about cooperation? As for the marriage, the prospective groom was already dead. What marriage? Mobilize the Heavenly Blade troops. By tomorrow, I want to know who is responsible for this. After a brief moment of agitation, Yang Kong reacted. The most important thing currently was for him to unveil the killer, so as to give an answer to the Nan Gong family. If someone else's child had died in his territory but he was unable to even find the murderer, then his Yang family's face could be thrown back to his grandmother's house. Furthermore, Yang Kong also had misgivings. Nan Gongla went out with his 3 grandsons to play, yet his grandsons were without a scratch while Nan Gongla ended up deader than dead, the spectacle horrible to behold. If he was Nan Gong Yanglong, what would he think? The moment Yang Kong received the report, he immediately realized that this was part of a bigger conspiracy. Furthermore, this scheme was aimed at driving a wedge between the Yings and the Nan Gongs, resulting in the collapse of their relationships. The problem was that, while he was aware of the plan, Yang Konkun was hopeless about it. There were no traces left behind to use as evidence. Even the head of the other party's child was not found. He could not just walk up to Nangong Tianlong and say, "Your son has been murdered. Don't be angry or enraged, this is a ploy against my Yang family." Yang Konkun knew that if Nangong Tianlong heard that, Nangong Tianlong would definitely flip the table over and start a war. Wily and cunning as Nangong Tianlong might be, Nangong Tianlong was still a man and not some heartless saint. If Yang Konkun's son was the victim, he would definitely go berserk and fall mad. Putting himself in Nangong Tianlong's shoes, the outcome was obvious. Chapter 113, The Yang Family Moves Out. Increase the number of guards and carefully scrutinize the Ling, Wang and the imperial family's every move. I want detailed reports of all of the three families, regardless of how big or small the matter. I want it to be reported. Yang Lei, bring a few elites to the capital and investigate the people who entered the sky-bearing empire in the recent half-month, especially those who came in from the south. Pay careful attention to them. Yang Yun, quickly inform the Nangong family, report this matter to them clearly without missing a single detail out. Even when faced with such an abrupt disadvantage, in this instant, Yang Konkun showed how he was an outstanding talent of his generation, quickly calming himself down. The matter had already happened and people were already dead. Thinking about the consequences of this matter is no longer important already. They could only face it calmly, no matter the result. Yang Konkun was calm and unflustered, giving out orders like the river's water, flowing orderly without any chaos. The originally harried and chaotic Yang family calmed down upon hearing his authoritative voice and saluted him after receiving their orders, rushing out to complete the tasks. Yang Konkun placed his hands behind his back as he gazed at the night sky. He could already foresee how the entire capital would be stirred up like a bowl of porridge because of his orders. This would cause a scenario where people jump at the slightest breeze or the cry of a crane, imagining every grass and tree as a soldier. After so many years, the actual might of the Yang family's elites was now being brought to bear. While he knew that this move of his would draw more suspicion from the imperial family, he was already at his wits' end. The deployment of his elite troops was not to pursue the killer. The probability of actually being able to capture that cold-blooded killer right now was infinitely close to zero. The deployment was a sort of stance, a display to the Nangong family. It was a show put up for everyone under the heavens. Since your son has been murdered in my territory, no doubt you would be sad, but I'll be angrier. I want to use the greatest strength at my disposal to solve this case in the fastest and fiercest way, without any neglect. Furthermore, this also served as a sign to the Nangong family, your son is already dead and it was not done by us. Since an ally of our Yang family has met with an accident in our area, our family would definitely bring justice. Regardless of the consequences, our Yang family would pour all our effort into this case. This is the attitude we have towards this cooperation. A pity, one careless move was all that was needed to throw the entire game away. The only thing that was out of Yang Konkun's calculations, and still remained unknown to him, was the fact that Ling Tian had long predicted his response. What sort of strength would Yang Konkun display? This was what Ling Tian was actually looking for, and also one of his main objectives this time round. An sound was heard, as Nangong Yu was roused awake, her face full of visible tear tracks. Yang Konkun heaved a long sigh, and walked towards her slowly, his white beard swaying in the wind as he spoke. Niece Nangong, what's happened cannot be changed, please restrain your grief for now. Should we help your esteemed older brother perform his last rites? He had thought for a long while but was unable to come out with anything comforting to tell her. Facing this situation, addressing a close relative of the deceased, no amount of words would have any power. Helpless, the only thing he could say and do was to help the headless corpse conduct its last rites. They could not bury him yet, as Nan Gongla would undoubtedly be buried only at his ancestral family ground. With the assistance of a servant maid, Nan Gongyu, with a face drained of all color and blood, stood up slowly and said, "Thank you family head Yang for your concern. If I do not take revenge for this, I swear that I am not fit to be a person." She then turned to address the guards beside her. "Those who accompanied my second brother, are there any left alive?" Though her voice sounded weak and frail, it was bone-chillingly cold, carrying hints of killing intent. "There are 2 of them, but they were seriously injured and are still unconscious. Family head Yang has sent for people to attend to them. But due to the nature of the injuries, things do not look optimistic." One of the guards bowed as he reported. "Hurry and bring me over to take a look." Nan Gongyu then bowed weakly to Yang Kongku. This niece will take her leave. Obviously, she was not willing to allow him to follow her, which obviously showed her suspicions. Yang Kongku merely inclined his head slightly in response. Watching the vanishing back view of Nan Gongyu, his gaze was complex. Though the murder took place under his protection, the Yang family would definitely not be absolved of blame. With the current state of things, one could only face it with a calm mind. He thought, "I've already sent the Yangs to investigate and arrest the killer. Though there might not be immediate results, I've already done all I could. If you Nangongs are unhappy or suspicious, to the point that you want to sever all ties with me, my Yang family is actually not afraid of your Nangong family." "How is it? Are they awake yet?" Although she had already heard the gist of what happened from the surviving Yang family's guards, Nan Gongyu still trusted her own subordinates more. How would she know if the Yang family's guards were just making excuses? "Not yet, the 2 of them have similar injuries to most of the dead. Both of them were pierced through the chest by a sword stab. The killer was unbelievably ruthless and I've seldom seen one like that. If it wasn't for the fact that both of them were lucky, and the stab missed their heart by half an inch, they would have long been sent to the underworld. Even as it is, the wound inflicted is still too serious. Hence I have no guarantee of saving them." A physician stood there with his hands still dripping fresh blood as he respectfully replied. "All right, please excuse us for now." After the crowd retreated, there was only the entourage from the Nangong family left. With the strength of just one man, and using the time needed to make a cup of tea to take care of the 100-odd guards, he was actually completely uninjured. "Ha ha ha." Nan Gongyu laughed out venomously as she continued, 4 people on the journey and the 3 young nobles from the Yang family are not even missing a strand of hair. But, my second brother somehow lost his head along the way. This is laughable, really amusing." Her cold laughter echoed. "Miss, what are your orders?" a guard beside her asked. "Take out my life-saving ginseng king and cut out a piece each for both of them." Nan Gongyu's voice was as cold as an Arctic tundra. "To show compassion for us guards, we are already grateful beyond belief. But, that sort of rare spiritual medicine like the ginseng king is priceless beyond compare. The 2 of them are too severely wounded, even with the medicine, it would only be in vain and this would waste the precious ginseng king." Another guard, that was standing by the side, said. "The ginseng king is a rare spiritual medicine that can prolong even the last breath of a dying man. Only then can we find out what happened from the mouths of the 2. Follow my orders." Nan Gongyu urged. "Yes, this servant will administer it right away." Her right-hand man immediately withdrew an old jade box, taking out a piece of snow-white ginseng. This was the very ginseng which Nangong Tianlong had bestowed Nan Gongyu. This ginseng, in fact, really had the ability to reverse a dying soul. That guard took out a knife made of jade and carefully sliced 2 pieces off, putting 1 each into the mouth of the dying guards. He then stepped back to await the results. All was silent, as they waited for the rain to fall. It seemed like an instant, yet an eternity, as a low groan suddenly pierced into the ears of the crowd. On the couch, one of the seriously injured guards seemed to have cracked open a sliver of his eyelids. The moment he saw Nan Gongyu beside him, the dying embers in his lights suddenly brightened up fiercely. Nan Gongyu felt a tremor in her heart as she stooped down. "Li Gang, can you hear me? I have something to ask." The sound of blood gurgling came from the throat of that Li Gang, his breathing coming out in wheezes like broken billows. Every time he breathed in, it took quite a bit of strength. However, his eyes stared at Nan Gongyu firmly, the panic, anxiety, grief, and indignation coming out in torrents. It seemed as though he wanted to say something, but he could not speak out. This caused his body to tremble even more violently. Light flashed through Nan Gongyu's eyes and she followed her ear to his mouth while saying, "Li Gang, what is it that you want to say? Rest assured, there is only our family in this room, you may speak with ease." Li Gang's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out from it. Finally, with a gulu sound, a mouth of fresh blood flowed out together with some blood clots from his mouth. His voice, weak and soft beyond belief, sounded, "Miss." Nan Gongyu's expression tightened. "I'm listening." Li Gang's voice sounded like a candle in the wind, on the verge of being snuffed out. But that weak voice, when transmitted into Nan Gongyu's ears, was just like a thunderstorm on a sunny day. "The killer is the Yang family. People from the Yang family. This is because of the plan that the master has for the Ling family. Miss. You. The voice became softer and softer, and with a final gurgle from his throat, Li Gang took his last breath, his eyes still wide open in anger and frustration as he passed away. Though the ginseng king was a miraculous medicine, allowing the dying guard to have another few seconds in life, it was not a soul-reviving immortal pellet after all, and Li Gang still passed away in the end. However, the words he spoke before his death had a content that could turn the sky and earth upside down. Nan Gongyu stood up slowly with both fists clenched, as though she could not control her rage and hatred any longer. It was unknown why, but the originally crazed Nan Gongyu suddenly regained her calm all of a sudden. In that instant, the close to erupting her suddenly cooled back down, the chill she emanated comparable to freezing temperatures. The crowd all felt anxious. The pretty face of Nan Gongyu looked as though it was sculpted from ice, the killing intent in her eyes seeming to congeal into reality. Beside her, the other fatally wounded guard seemed to still be trapped in unconsciousness. He started to hyperventilate, his body twitching in response. It seemed like he was inhaling lesser and exhaling more. Nan Gongyu hesitated for a brief moment, then suddenly, her expression turned cold as she turned her body and stretched out her right hand. With a small exertion of force and a caca sound, the guard's neck was snapped by her. He died before he could even utter a single word. Looking at the bewildered expressions of the others, Nan Gongyu drew out a snow-white silk scarf from her bosom and wiped her hands leisurely as she spoke. "If the Yang family knew that we have already discovered their ploy, I'm afraid we will all end up in unmarked tombstones in the sky-bearing empire. This person has been fatally injured and does not have much time left. We cannot afford to take this risk." Her jade hands flicked and that snow-white scarf floated down, gently covering the eyes of the guard who had died unjustly.